If you watched my last video, then you know I'm going to be going on vacation for 2 weeks, but I would still like to start some seeds before I go. Yeah, ideally I would be here to water them, but since I can't be, I'm going to try to set up a kind of self-watering system. I bought a large roll of this capillary mat, which I'm going to cut and put into the bottom of these trays. And then I'm going to cut another strip of it that I'm going to have in a bucket of water. And theoretically, the water should transfer up into the capillary mat through these trays and then up into the bottom of these seedling cells. I don't know if it's going to work the way that I want it to, but you know, if it doesn't, then that's fine. I can just start more seeds when I get back. But it would be nice to get them started now. So I'm going to show you how I get this set up, and then I'm going to plant some seeds. So this is what the mat looks like. I just bought a couple yards of it, and all I'm going to do is cut a piece that's going to fit in the bottom of this tray. And I'll cut 2 of those, one for each tray. It doesn't need to be like completely filling the tray or anything like that. I just want it to be kind of flat in the bottom. So about here. So that will go in the bottom of the tray, and then these will go on top. And as long as the bottom of the seedling cells are touching the mat, it should, in theory, work. So I'm just going to cut another one for this tray, and then I will get these filled with soil. So I'm only gonna have 1 bucket of water on my seedling shelf that's gonna go into this tray, but I need water to get all the way over to this tray. So I'm gonna need to actually cut a piece that will go from the bottom of this tray, be like a little bridge, and then go into the bottom of this tray. And the way this will work is, you know, the water is gonna want to travel from a place of high concentration to low concentration. So from the bucket into the dry mats, as the mats dry, more water will transfer into them. So if I have this fabric, that should be enough, going between the 2 mats, it should carry the water from one mat to the other. So basically I'll have this in here, touching both mats, and then when this is in here, it'll hold it down, and the water will go from this mat over into this fabric here, and then down into this fabric. So only have 1 bucket, but it will travel all the way over here. This is the soil that I use for starting my seedlings. It's actually a cactus soil. This is a tip I picked up from the Dallas Garden School, but for soils that are high in peat content, it's difficult for them to absorb moisture. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm starting seedlings is put a bunch of soil into a bowl and then soak it with water and kind of squish it in there so it's like nice and absorbed. And then I'll go ahead and put them in each of these seedling cells. Kind of like making a meatloaf. That looks pretty good. I like to just gather some up and give it a squish, and if it kind of sticks in a ball like that, then I know I've got enough water in there. So now I'm just gonna fill all of these seed trays, and then I will plant the seeds after I do that. It's going to be important that the soil is down and touching the bottom of the seedling cell, because if it's not, then it's not going to be able to absorb the water from the mat. So I need to make sure it's down in there really good. These are looking pretty good. I've got some extra soil here that I can use to top them while I'm planting seeds. But now I think I'm ready to plant. All right, the first seeds I'm gonna sow are nasturtiums. I have not had good luck with these. I've tried to plant them outside because that's like what's recommended. But I have not been able to get them to stay alive. So I've seen that people have grown them in the fall. I'm just gonna plant a couple and try them inside, and maybe if I can give them a better start inside, they'll survive the transplant. I don't really know. We're just gonna give it a shot because I haven't tried starting these inside yet. These ones you sow about 1/2 inch to 1 inch, so a little bit deeper. So I'm just gonna make a big hole in the middle and cover it back up. Next, I'm gonna do this lacinato, I'm sure that's wrong, kale. This is one of my favorite varieties, and it does really well in pots. So I'm gonna do 6 cells of this one, because I really like kale salads in the fall. The only difference, since I'm not gonna be here to thin the seeds, I'm only gonna do 1 per cell. Normally I would do 2 or 3 and then thin them as they grew, but I don't want them to get too crowded. So I'm just gonna do 1 and hopefully get a good enough germination rate that won't be a big deal. And this is just a 1/4 inch. Next is going to be this Bok Choy with a P. This is a little bit smaller than Bok Choy. I grew Bok Choy, was it last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember. And I really, really liked it. I froze it and used it in stir fries and things like that. So this should be a little bit smaller and more compact. So I'm going to go ahead and do a full 6 cell of these ones as well. And then I'll probably start some more when I get back. Same with the kale. I'll try not to lose the seeds this time. This one is also a 1/4 inch. Next, I'm gonna do 3 cells each of broccoli and cauliflower. I haven't had great results with brassicas in the past. They just seem to get eaten really easily by the bugs in our area. So I don't know if I'm gonna plant these out. I haven't quite decided, but I'm gonna start them anyways in case I do want to. This is 1/8 of an inch. And then Alright, next I'm gonna do some Dahlias. I haven't tried these before. I've heard people have difficulties with them in our area. I think it's the heat or the humidity, I'm not entirely sure, but I've seen some people grow them in the fall. So I'm gonna give them a try and we'll just see how it goes. So this is an unwind mix. But I'm only gonna do 3 because I don't have high hopes for these. Next I'm going to do this Mandarin orange Gunfrina. I have a purple one in my garden outside right now and it's doing great, and I really like this orange color, so it might not do as well in the fall, but I feel like it's still early enough that it'll do okay, so we're going to give this one a go. And then lastly, I'm gonna do these tall Snapdragons. These I haven't planted before either, but we're putting in another raised bed in an open space that we have that I want to do mostly flowers in. So I'm planting more flowers than usual. These are tiny, tiny, tiny seeds. I don't even know if you can see that. But these, I just need to do surface level, so that's easy. Alright, and that's everything planted. Alright, lastly I'm going to gently water the tops of these seedlings just to make sure that they've got a good amount of water to start. Alright, now we're in my grow room. So I've got the seedling tray set up here, and those both have the capillary mat in the bottom. And then I've got this big bucket of water that I'm going to cut another piece of capillary mat, put it in the water, and then run it to this tray here. So ideally the water will run from the bucket into the trays. And then after that, the only thing I need to do is lower the lights, and ideally everything should be watered and everything will work out. We'll see if that actually happens. Oh, and then I also need to put the fan over here down on the trays. But that is it. So this is the piece of mat that I'm gonna use, and I want it to go pretty deep into the bucket because I want it to be able to, I don't know how much water these are gonna use, so I want there to be enough water available. So I'm gonna move that temporarily. And then this end goes in the water. That should be it. lights I'm going to want pretty close to the seedlings, but I don't want them to be so close that they grow and hit the lights, so I'm going to leave them a little taller than I normally would, but I think it'll be fine. Alright, and that is it. So I will see y'all in 2 weeks and we'll see how this went. I just got back from vacation and this is what the seedlings are looking like. I am pleasantly surprised at how well these did, actually. I'll raise these lights up and get a little closer so you can see what's going on, and I'll talk about each one. Alright, so these are all the seedlings that were on the left side, and this is the side that was closest to the bucket of water that I had the end of the capillary mat draping into. So the nasturtiums did really well. I only had one seedling cell that didn't germinate. This was the variegated type and this was the non-variegated. So these are looking really well, actually. You can see that there are roots coming out of the bottom. That's what this little white thing is down there. And I know nasturtiums are kind of sensitive to root disturbance, so we'll see how those do transplanted into the garden, but really happy with those. I had all 6 kale cells germinate. They are looking a bit leggy though. I didn't have my fan on them like I normally do, just because I didn't want the mat drying out and them not getting any water. So ordinarily the airflow would help strengthen the stems and kind of alleviate some of that legginess, but I think they'll still do fine transplanted into the garden. And then the Bok Choy, I had 4 out of 6 germinate, so that's still pretty good. One's a lot smaller than the others, but I'm really happy with everything on the left side here. I think they all did really well. Here on the right side, it's a little bit of a different story. So I did have things germinate. So this leftmost row here is the broccoli. You can see it germinated, but these ones look to have dried out. So I'm wondering if this little bridge here that's supposed to carry water from this tray into this tray, I'm wondering if this maybe didn't work as well as I had wanted to. I think if I were to do this again, I would just set up another bucket of water here on the right side and have the mat going into here, so each tray would have its own bucket of water. But I think I can revive these, so we'll see. The cauliflower looks pretty good and not as dried out as the broccoli, so that's good. I didn't get any germination from the Dahlias or the Gunfrina. I'm not too worried about that. I only planted one seed in each cell because I wasn't going to be here to thin them out. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. I can plant some more and babysit them a bit more and hopefully get some germination. But I did get some Snapdragons, 4 out of 6, so that's pretty good. And yeah, I think I planted a few more Snapdragon seeds because there's so little. I can't remember, but overall I'm really happy with how this turned out, and would definitely use it again in the future. For not being here for 2 full weeks and not doing anything to these at all and still getting these results, I'm super happy. So I will start to harden these off soon, and then they will be going out into the garden.